In this video, you are going to see a fantastic game played in round 12, the final weekend of Tata Steel Chess, Wijk aan Zee 2025. And what a game it is, guys. It's Praggnanandhaa, one of the superstars from India, playing against Alexei Sarana. It's a really fascinating, instructive, but also a short game. So definitely worth watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel not to miss any of the action. Here we go, as Praggnanandhaa is trailing tournament leader Gukesh by half a point, so it's a very important game for him. It's a big chance to try to catch up and fight for tournament victory. Let's see how he goes to do that. Well, it's in this starting position where Prag goes for 1d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, queen's gambit declined. Very classical stuff, but still incredibly popular at the highest level. Pawn takes, black recaptures, and the bishop comes out to g5, pawn to c6. And well, this is typical plan, like usually the bishop would like to come to f5 very quickly after. So here followed the move queen c2, preventing that development of the bishop to the most active square. Queen is well placed on this diagonal. And well, this is all very standard. A lot of moves have been seen. In particular, the most common move here is just developing the king's bishop to e7 to prepare castling kingside. Has been seen thousands of times. But Sarana goes for this very strange looking move, bishop e6. Now it has to be said that in a lot of lines nowadays the bishop is actually developed to that square. Although I have to say that I don't particularly like it. The bishop is sort of blocked in by its own pawns. Still, not so easy to prove its misplacement. So let's see how it continues here. e3, knight bd7, and here interesting moment as White has to think about how to complete kingside development. Normally, you would expect the bishop to go to d3, but Prag played here this move, bishop e2. And why did he play that move? Well, if you, for instance, play bishop d3 instead, after h6, the bishop can be chased by the black pawns. Like, for instance, if you go bishop h4, there's g5, and after bishop g3, there follows knight h5. And the bishop cannot be saved. It's not the end of the world, of course, but it's quite comfortable for black, actually. So what is Prag doing here? It's playing the move bishop e2. So if you continue that same sequence with h6 and g5, this bishop is controlling the h5 square, so you cannot really catch the bishop with your knight. Bishop d6 is played, and now this is high school chess. Remarkable plan by Praggnanandhaa. After having moved his king's bishop to e2, now he puts it on d3. It's like violating the opening rules, moving twice with the same piece. But now after h6, bishop h4, keeping the tension. There follow g5. But after bishop g3, of course, knight h5 is not possible because the bishop is on d6. So White will initiate the exchange of dark squared bishops, which is a good thing to do, of course. It actually happened. Bishop takes, pawn takes. And now queen e7. Very understandable because castling kingside is no option. As the h file has been opened, you have to find an alternative path for the king. Likely the king is going in that direction. And after knight f3, black actually had his chance to castle queenside. I think it's a very thematical move. However, Sarana decided here to play first the move g4. Let me tell you, it's very understandable that after knight f3, you do something about the threat of knight takes g5. You cannot take back as the rook on h8 is unprotected. That's why I actually proposed castling queenside so that the rooks are connected. This looks pretty solid, but Sarana played here the move g4. And the white knight goes now to h4. It's at the side of the board, but it's not badly placed at all. The knight will very quickly rejoin play. It will come to f5 sooner or later. Knight b6 was played, and here castling kingside. That is absolutely fine. Black normally would like to go for a kingside attack, having advanced its pawns, but the knight on h4 is actually blocking black's h-pawn from coming forward. So black goes for the alternative plan. Castling queenside, as said already. Now both kings are on opposite wings. And that means that white is launching an attack with the move a4, ready to go a5 and a6 very soon after. If you try to stop that plan by playing a5 yourself, was not played by Sarana, probably white's going to play knight a2, put a rook on b1, and open up the files with the move b4. So a move like a5 can really seriously weaken the black queen side. Therefore, Sarana played instead king b8. But here it is the move a5, attacking the knight. The knight comes into c4. The knight is doing pretty well here. I mean, if you do take, you can take back with the pawn, and pawn is well supported. It's not so easy for white to maneuver in that case. There followed knight a4. Look at this. The knight is on its way to c5. You may think, well, that pawn on a5 is hanging, but you don't want to open up files towards your own king. It really activates the white rook from a1 without moving that piece. So instead, rather, Sarana goes here for the move knight d6. It's thematical play. Like, these knights are doing pretty well. I like the knight on d6. And after knight c5, there follows here the move a6. Everything is nicely under control. Black has a impressive pawn structure, and after rook fc1, white is clearly announcing his plans on that side of the board. But thematically, Sarana goes back with the bishop to c8. Looks as if everything is under control, like he is controlling potential sacrifices against the black king. And the bishop now is a good defender, but also black is having a nice control over the center. There's no problem here, as it looks like. Queen b3 played. You have to be careful here. There are threats now to take either with your knight or bishop on a6, exploiting that pin on the b file. And what should black do? Well, the logical move here seems to be king a8. Sidestepping those threats by going to the a file is a thematical plan, and it's a very unbalanced position. But Sarana here went for a completely different move. He played knight b5. He's just blocking the b file. Looks very natural, right? I mean, everything is closed. The king looks safe. But his next move of Pragg must have come as a huge shocker. Knight takes a6, sacrificing the knight. Pawn takes a6. Now it's rook takes c6. Black is getting in trouble here. His queen side is getting opened, and white has already 2 pawns for the piece, which is quite decent compensation. How should you organize your defense? White is about to take twice on b5, get a 3rd pawn in that case, and if you try to protect with queen b7, well, there's a rook b6 and you're losing the queen. So that is not a possibility at all. And instead, Sarana played here a rook to d7, which is in a way very understandable, as you're trying to set up a defense along the 7th rank, and still things look pretty okay. But the main drawback of that move is that it does block the bishop, and the bishop is no longer functioning on the c8 g4 diagonal. Knight f5 played, attacking the queen. The knight is joining the attack. Black has to move the queen. Went back to d8. And now bishop takes b5. Black has to take back, of course. And now if you would take with the queen, was not played in the game, there is a rook to b7, and the game goes on. I mean, black is having quite a reasonable position here. But white is playing in a very clever way. Played here first the move a6, bringing up that a pawn, taking away the b7 square from a black piece. And black has to do something else. There followed here this move, rook to a7. And after queen takes b5, it's check. The king goes into the corner. There are no immediate threats, and black is actually about to take that knight. That's why the rook went away from d7 to a7. What you're going to do with that knight? Well, look at this. The knight comes in to d6. Excellent idea. With a simple threat now to take twice on c8 when you're winning the black queen. So it's not so easy to do something against it. You can move the bishop to d7, but can you see here the killer blow, which was played by Praggnanandhaa, and with his next move, he seals the deal. Queen b7 check. It's a queen sacrifice. It's game over. It's a mate in a few moves. You cannot do anything. You cannot run away with the king. If you do take the queen, rook takes b7. You do take back with the pawn. It's now double check because the rook from a1 has an open file. If the king goes back to b8, it's checkmate on a8 with the rook. The pawn supports the rook. The knight supports the pawn. And the rook is covering the squares on the c-file. That is an absolutely massive victory for Praggnanandhaa. Only 29 moves. He is defeating a super strong grandmaster. And that brings him back in the shared first place. Going into the final round together with his fellow countryman Gukesh, the world champion. They are going to decide who will be the winner of Tata Steel Chess 2025. What an incredible game in the penultimate round, the final weekend of Tata Steel Chess. Well, stay tuned for more, and very soon I will cover more exciting games from this fascinating event. So see you soon again. Thanks for watching.